All right, let's dive into some seriously strange places on Earth. Like places that'll make you wonder if you stepped into a sci-fi movie or something.
Yeah, those hidden gems that most people wouldn't even think about.
Exactly. We're not just listing them off, though, are we? We're going to unpack the WHY.
The how, the what, the...
Yeah. Why are they so bizarre? What do they tell us about our planet? You know, like one of our sources describes this place called the Wave in Arizona. It looks like a giant frozen ocean wave made of sandstone. And get this, only a handful of people can visit each day.
Yeah, and that's not about being exclusive. It's about protecting this fragile sandstone formation.
Ah, I should
Only
follow.
64 permits are given out every day. It's to make sure that this natural wonder stays pristine, for future generations.
That makes sense.
Imagine you're one of just a handful of people in this vast, otherworldly landscape.
Yeah.
That's a pretty special travel memory.
Wow. Yeah, 64 people. That's it.
Mm.
Okay, speaking of feeling small, our next stop is Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia. It's this massive salt flat, and during the rainy season, get this, it turns into a giant mirror.
And because it's so incredibly flat, scientists actually use it to calibrate satellites.
No way.
Yeah, the reflection is so perfect, it's the ideal reference point.
Wait, so astronauts are literally looking down at this mirror on Earth?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it blows my mind. Okay, so you've got beauty, we've got extremes. And speaking of extremes, let's talk about the door to hell. It's in Turkmenistan, right? In the Karakum Desert.
Uh-huh.
And it is literally a fiery pit that just won't quit. I mean, isn't that a little ominous?
Well, the funny thing is, this wasn't some natural phenomenon. It was an accident.
Wait, really?
Back in the 70s, Soviet scientists were drilling for gas, and they accidentally hit a cavern.
Oops.
The ground collapsed, and to stop the spread of methane, they decided to light it on fire. They thought it would burn out quickly.
50 years later. That's wild.
Yeah.
I bet those scientists felt a little silly afterward.
I would imagine so.
You know what? This is making me crave a vacation, but maybe somewhere a little less fiery. What about that Cat Island in Japan? I remember that from the research.
Oshima Island. This place is just overrun with cats.
I've seen pictures.
We're talking a 6-to-1 ratio, cats to humans.
Hold on. How did that even happen?
Well, it started with good intentions.
Uh,
They brought the cats in to control rodents.
yeah,
But with no natural predators, their population just exploded.
makes sense.
It kind of makes you think about those unintended consequences, doesn't it?
Sure does. Maybe a topic for another deep dive. Okay, for now, how about a place that seems like straight out of a fairy tale? Pamukkale in Turkey, also called the Cotton Castle.
The Cotton Castle. Imagine dazzling white terraces made of calcium-rich thermal waters.
So pretty.
Cascading pools that look like frozen waterfalls.
Oh,
But here's the thing, they're actually quite worn, so you have this winter wonderland look, but with hot spring temperatures.
it's like a visual paradox. Okay,
Yeah.
that is officially on my travel bucket list. So we've got fire, cats, a magical frozen palace. What else is on this wild ride?
How about a lake that looks like a giant polka dot painting?
Really?
Spotted Lake in British Columbia, Canada.
I've never even heard of that.
You've got to see pictures of this. Circles of green, blue, yellow, all dotting the surface of the lake.
Okay, I am officially intrigued. Polka Dot Lake, seriously. What makes it look like that?
So it's caused by mineral deposits left behind when the water evaporates in the summer.
Oh,
And each spot has a different mineral makeup, which creates those unique colors.
Mother Nature, the original artist.
Yeah.
Speaking of art, what about Fly Geyser? That was in Nevada, right?
Yeah, Fly Geyser, another accidental wonder born from human intervention, actually.
Oh?
A geothermal test well drilled back in the 60s, hit a hot spring,
I see.
and over time, minerals built up. Now it's these colorful mounds constantly erupting with water and steam.
So like Old Faithful, but with a psychedelic makeover.
Exactly, and it's a constant eruption, not like Old Faithful's bursts.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, the mineral buildup creates these bizarre, almost alien structures.
It's pretty amazing how these accidents can lead to such beauty. What's next on our list of bizarre locales?
Let's go to a forest, but not just any forest. The trees themselves kind of bend the rules of nature.
Okay.
The Crooked Forest in Poland. Hundreds of pine trees with a bizarre 90-degree bend near their base.
Wait, a crooked forest? Were we talking Dr. Seuss levels of crooked
I know,
here?
it's unique. Imagine walking into a forest and every tree seems to have taken a sharp turn,
Yeah.
like they're frozen mid-bow. The real mystery is what caused it. Some theories say gravity, others say it was humans, maybe for shipbuilding or furniture.
So no one knows for sure.
We may never know.
A forest of bowing trees, and no one knows why.
Yeah.
That's both eerie and fascinating. Okay, before we get too lost in the woods, let's head back to the water. Off the coast of Mauritius, there's an underwater waterfall.
Well, not a real waterfall, more of a mind-bending optical illusion.
Right.
Sand and silt shifting on the ocean floor and the light playing through the water.
Makes sense.
It looks like a giant cascade plunging into the depths.
So our brains see a waterfall, but it's really just sand doing its thing.
Exactly.
Like even when we think we've got nature figured out, it can still surprise us.
For sure.
Okay, on to a place that sounds straight out of a fantasy novel. Goblin Valley State Park in Utah.
Picture a valley filled with thousands of mushroom-shaped rock formations called hoodoos.
Hoodoos.
Erosion is the artist here, slowly sculpting these bizarre shapes over millions of years.
It's like Mother Nature decided to have a giant goblin party, and these are the guests, just frozen in time.
Exactly. It sparks the imagination, makes you feel like you've stepped into another world.
I love it. And from goblins, we jump to blood. Blood falls in Antarctica. Tell me this isn't as gruesome as it sounds.
No blood sacrifices here, don't worry. Imagine a glacier with a waterfall cascading down, but the water is blood red.
Okay, that is both incredible and a little creepy. What's causing that?
The color comes from iron-rich water trapped beneath the glacier for millions of years.
Oh.
When it hits oxygen, the iron oxidizes, creating that red hue.
So it's like rust, but on a massive glacial scale. That's wild.
What's even more interesting is this is happening with very little oxygen, which
Wow.
is unusual.
All right.
It suggests there might be microbial life forms using that iron for energy.
Like we use oxygen.
Yeah.
Wait, tiny life forms thriving in iron-rich water under a glacier. That's incredible. Makes you wonder what else is lurking out there.
Precisely. Speaking of hidden corners, let's go from icy Antarctica to the scorching heat of Death Valley, California. Moving rocks.
Leaving rocks. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What kind of moving are we talking about here?
These rocks leave trails behind them on the desert floor, but no one's ever actually seen them move.
No way.
It's baffled scientists for years.
Okay, so it's like a giant mystery on the desert floor. Any theories? Ghosts? Aliens?
Well, the most likely explanation is actually pretty down to earth.
Okay.
Thin sheets of ice form beneath the rocks in winter. And as the ground thaws, the ice melts, creating this slippery surface. So the wind and water can push the rocks, even if it's just a little bit.
So it's like a super slow motion icy slip and slide for rocks.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It's amazing how much power nature can pack into seemingly small forces, right?
Absolutely. And those forces can be both creative and destructive. Like
True.
our next location, the Boiling River in Peru.
Boiling river. As in hot enough to make tea.
More like hot enough to cook anything that falls in instantly.
Seriously.
This geothermal river, deep in the Amazon, reaches temperatures near 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
200 degrees. Is it volcanic activity?
You got it. Magma heats the water, which then rises to the surface. Incredibly dangerous, but also fascinating.
A literal boiling river. It's a good thing we're doing this deep dive from, well, not a boiling river. Okay, so we've seen fire, ice, cats, goblins, and now boiling water.
Yep, pretty much.
What other strangeness awaits us?
How about a lake that's permanently pink?
A pink lake. Is this an Instagram filter gone wild, or is this real?
Lake Hillier in Australia. Its vibrant pink water contrasts beautifully with the surrounding greenery.
That is so cool.
It's totally real, and scientists are still debating what causes that pink hue.
What are the theories?
Some think it's salt-living bacteria, others say it's a reaction between salt and algae.
Fascinating.
And here's the craziest part. The water stays pink even when you scoop it into a glass.
Wow, so you could have a glass of pink lake water? That's surreal. Speaking of things that seem too good to be true, I see we have a giant blue hole to explore next.
The Great Blue Hole in Belize. It's this massive, perfectly circular sinkhole in the middle of the ocean, over 400 feet deep.
Okay, that's both beautiful and terrifying. How did something like that even form?
So it formed during the last ice age, when sea levels were much lower.
Yeah.
As the ice melted, the sea levels rose, and it flooded this massive sinkhole, creating the Great Blue Hole we see today.
Wow, so it's like a window into a lost world?
Divers who go down there have discovered ancient stalactites, sharks, underwater caves, all sorts of stuff.
Amazing.
Okay.
From a giant blue hole to giant rocks. The Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, this is another visually striking
I've
location.
heard of this.
Imagine a coastline made up of thousands of perfectly hexagonal rock columns fitting together like a giant jigsaw puzzle.
Hexagonal rocks. Did someone carve those out, or is this some kind of natural phenomenon?
Legend says a giant named Finn McCool built it.
Of course.
But the science behind it is just as fascinating. Volcanic activity millions of years ago, molten lava cooling and contracting,
Oh, wow.
created those unique shapes.
So it's not just a giant's playground. It's a reminder of the incredible forces that shaped our planet, right?
Exactly.
Okay, before we get too lost in geological time, how about a place that seems to defy the laws of physics? Magnetic Hill in Canada.
Oh, yeah, that's a fine.
Cars appearing to roll uphill.
But don't worry, it's not actually defying gravity.
Phew. That's a relief.
It's an optical
An
illusion.
optical illusion.
The slope of the hill, is downhill, but the surrounding landscape tricks our brains into thinking it's uphill. It's all about perception.
So our eyes are playing tricks on us.
That's right.
I always wanted to experience that. It's amazing how easily our perception can be fooled. Oh, we've seen fire, illusions, even pink lakes. What else is on this journey through the strange and wonderful places of our planet?
Well, how about a waterfall with a never-ending fire burning inside it?
You're kidding.
Eternal Flame Falls in New York State.
A waterfall with fire? How is that even possible?
It's pretty simple, actually. Natural gas seeping from underground fuels the flame.
Oh,
It's small, but it flickers within the waterfall, creating this mesmerizing spectacle.
so it's like a natural gas leak, but instead of being dangerous, it's this beautiful fiery display.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm adding that to my list of places to see. It's amazing how nature can be both beautiful and powerful.
For sure.
Now, from fire and water, let's go to the beach, but not just any beach. The Moraki boulders in New Zealand.
Those are giant spherical boulders scattered along the beach.
Spherical.
Some weigh several tons, and they're perfectly round, almost like giant marbles.
Giant marbles on the beach. Did someone lose their collection or what?
Well, the science is pretty cool. They formed over millions of years from mineral deposits in mudstone.
Oh.
But there are local legends that say these boulders are the remains of ancient sea creatures.
Oh, that's cool.
It adds a layer of myth and mystery to the landscape.
I love how science and myth can intertwine like that. It creates even more wonder.
Absolutely. That's what makes exploring these strange and wonderful places so compelling. They challenge us, spark our imaginations, and remind us there's always more to discover.
I totally agree. Okay, we've traveled from fiery pits to cat-filled islands, from pink lakes to beaches with giant marbles. I can't wait to see what else is in store for us on this deep dive. All right, I'm ready for more. After those giant beach marbles, where to next?
Okay, if you thought those boulders were strange, get ready for this. Our sources talk about an island, Socotra, part of Yemen. They call it the most alien-looking place on Earth.
Alien looking. Okay, now I have to see pictures. What makes it so different?
Well, Socotra has been isolated from the mainland for millions of years.
Oh, wow.
So it's developed this totally unique ecosystem. Plants and animals you won't find anywhere else.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Okay, so there's the dragon's blood tree. It's got this bizarre umbrella-shaped canopy,
Sound cool.
like straight out of Dr. Seuss. And then you've got the desert rose. It's like a miniature baobab tree.
Wow.
And the cucumber tree with the swollen trunk.
The names alone sound like they belong in a fantasy novel. It's amazing how isolation can create such unique life forms. Okay, I'm adding Socotra to my list of places to Google later. But for now, let's shift gears to something a little more bubbly. Champagne Pool in New Zealand, right?
Yes, Champagne Pool. It's in the Waiotapu geothermal wonderland.
Catchy name.
It gets its name from the constant stream of carbon dioxide bubbles rising to the surface.
So it literally looks like a glass of champagne.
Pretty much. It's a hot spring heated by geothermal activity deep underground.
I see.
And those bubbles, that's the carbon dioxide being released as the hot water rises.
Cool.
It also has this vibrant orange rim around the pool
Oh,
caused by mineral deposits.
pretty.
Yeah, it makes a striking contrast with the turquoise blue water.
Wow, a naturally carbonated hot spring. I bet it would be amazing to take a dip in that. Maybe not too close to the edge, though, with those mineral deposits. Speaking of natural wonders that are good for the soul, what about the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis?
Ah, the Northern Lights. A truly magical spectacle.
I've always wanted to see them.
Imagine dancing curtains of light in the night sky, shimmering in all these shades, green, pink, purple, blue,
So beautiful.
like a celestial ballet.
What causes those colors anyway?
It's charged particles from the sun interacting with atoms in our atmosphere.
Oh.
When those particles collide, they release energy in the form of light, creating those stunning auroras.
So it's like a cosmic light show, powered by the sun. That's amazing. You know, talking about the northern lights makes me think about stargazing in general. Our research mentions the Atacama Desert again as one of the best places in the world to see the night sky.
Oh, absolutely. Incredibly clear skies there.
Why is that?
It's the high altitude, the dry climate, and the lack of light pollution. That's why there's so many observatories there.
Makes sense. I can just imagine looking up at a sky that dark, with millions of stars blazing overhead.
It's humbling, for sure.
It must make you feel pretty small.
It really puts things in perspective, our place in the universe.
Well, after contemplating the vastness of space, maybe we should come back down to Earth. Literally. Deadvley in Namibia. Sounds kind of like the opposite of a starry sky.
Deadvley is a clay pan, incredibly desolate, but starkly beautiful.
What does that even look like?
Imagine this white clay surface dotted with these skeletal remains of dead acacia trees.
Whoa.
Their branches reaching up like ghostly fingers.
That's a powerful image. What happened to the trees?
They died centuries ago when the Sakab River changed course,
Oh, wow.
cut off their water supply.
So sad.
But the climate is so dry they haven't decomposed.
Really?
They just stand there, these stark reminders of nature's power.
It's a little morbid, but also beautiful in a haunting kind of way.
It is, yeah.
You know, talking about all these strange places
Yeah.
really highlights how diverse our planet is.
Mm.
We've got lush rainforests, scorching deserts, fiery craters, and now a valley of dead trees that refuse to rot.
It's incredible.
What else is out there?
Okay, let's move from a place of death to a creature that seems to defy death.
Defy death. Now you've got my attention.
Ever heard of the immortal jellyfish?
Immortal, like it lives forever. You're kidding, right?
Well, maybe not forever, but it has this amazing ability.
What is it?
It's called Turritopsis dohrnii. It can actually reverse its aging process.
What?
After reaching sexual maturity, it can revert back to its polyp stage.
So it's like the Benjamin Button of the sea. You
Yeah.
could just keep doing that forever, theoretically.
Exactly. Scientists are studying it closely, trying to figure out how it does this.
Imagine the possibilities if we could reverse our own aging process like that. Okay, before we get carried away with dreams of immortality, let's move on. Sequoia National Park in California, known for its giants, right?
Oh, yes. Sequoia National Park is home to some of the largest and oldest living things on Earth. The giant sequoia trees,
Those things are massive.
over 300 feet tall, and they can live for thousands of years.
I remember visiting Sequoia National Park as a kid. It's awe-inspiring. You feel so small standing next to those trees.
It makes you appreciate the power of nature, that's for sure.
Imagine those trees were already ancient when humans first started building cities. Okay, from giant trees to chocolate hills. I see something here about the chocolate hills in the Philippines.
The Chocolate Hills. Imagine over 1,200 grass-covered hills,
Whoa,
all perfectly cone-shaped, stretching out as far as the eye can see.
that's crazy.
And during the dry season, the grass turns brown.
Hence the name.
Exactly. It looks like a giant box of chocolates.
What created that kind of landscape?
That's the mystery. There are lots of theories: volcanic activity, uplift, erosion, but no one knows for sure.
A landscape full of chocolate-colored hills, and we don't even know how they got there. Okay, all this exploring is making me want to relax a bit. Is there a spa on our itinerary?
Actually, there is the Blue Lagoon in Iceland.
Ooh, I've heard of that.
It's a geothermal spa, famous for its milky blue water.
So pretty.
It's full of minerals like silica and sulfur. Good for the skin, supposedly.
So it's like a natural hot tub with extra benefits. What makes the water that milky blue color anyway?
The water comes from a nearby geothermal power plant. It's a mix of minerals and algae that creates that color.
Interesting.
It's a great example of sustainability, using the byproduct of geothermal energy to create this amazing spa experience.
Love it. Sustainable A&D, relaxing.
Yeah.
Okay, after a nice soak in the Blue Lagoon, where does our journey take us next?
Let's go to South America. Mount Roraima, Atipati.
Tepehuy. What's that?
It's a unique flat-topped mountain.
A flat-topped mountain.
Yeah. This one sits at the junction of Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana. Sheer cliffs rising thousands of feet above the rainforest.
Wow. What's so special about this tepe?
Mount Roraima is thought to be one of the oldest geological formations on Earth.
Really?
Billions of years old. It's like stepping back in time. And because it's so isolated, it has this incredible diverse ecosystem.
Amazing.
Lots of species you won't find anywhere else.
A flat-topped mountain full of ancient life forms. Okay, that's definitely going on the list.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these strange places can be both beautiful and scientifically significant, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's shift gears again, something a little more colorful. Keukenhof Gardens in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
That was in the research, right?
Keukenhof Gardens, also called the Garden of Europe.
I've seen pictures. It's so pretty.
Millions of tulips, hyacinths, daffodils, all bursting into color.
It sounds like a photographer's dream.
Yeah,
Millions of flowers all blooming at once.
it's really something else.
So we've got flowers.
Right.
What about animals?
Well, how about we dive into the world's largest coral reef system, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia,
The Great Barrier Reef.
home to an incredible diversity of marine life. Over 1,500 species of fish, 400 types of coral.
Wow.
Even 6 of the world's 7 species of sea turtles live there.
I've always wanted to see the Great Barrier Reef. It's a good reminder of how amazing our oceans are. But it's facing some threats these days, isn't it?
Sadly, yes. Climate change, pollution, overfishing, it's taking a toll.
That's so sad.
It's important to raise awareness and support those conservation efforts, to protect it for the future.
You're absolutely right. It's easy to get caught up in the beauty and forget how fragile these places are. Okay, after exploring underwater, let's head back to dry land. Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah.
Bryce Canyon. It's not actually a canyon, It's a series of natural amphitheaters.
Amphitheaters.
Yeah, carved into the edge of a high plateau.
Oh, wow.
And those amphitheaters are filled with thousands of towering rock formations called hoodoos.
Wait, so it's not a canyon, but it looks like a canyon.
It's all about how erosion has shaped this landscape. Wind, rain, frost. They've sculpted the soft rock into those hoodoos.
So cool.
They look like giant totem poles rising up from the valley floor.
It sounds like something out of a fantasy world.
It is, and the views are incredible.
I bet. Okay, well, speaking of incredible views, I see one more iconic destination on our list. The Grand Canyon in Arizona.
The Grand Canyon. It's a classic for a reason.
I can only imagine.
A mile-deep gorge carved by the Colorado River over millions of years.
Millions of years.
Standing on the rim, gazing out over that vast expanse, it's an experience that changes you.
I bet it is. It must be incredibly humbling seeing the sheer scale of it, realizing how long it took nature to shape that landscape.
Exactly. It makes you appreciate the power of geological time.
Wow. So we've traveled from alien-looking islands to bubbly hot springs, from ancient forests to coral reefs teeming with life, and now to the grandeur of the Grand Canyon. It's incredible how much diversity and wonder exists on our planet. Okay, we've seen canyons, deserts, forests, you name it. What other strange and wonderful places are left on our list?
Let's go to a place that looks like it belongs in a Chinese landscape painting.
Okay,
Zhangjiajie National Forest Park.
Zhangjiajie. That rings a bell. Is that the one with the crazy rock pillars?
That's the one. Towering sandstone pillars, often shrouded in mist. They look like they're floating among the clouds.
I've seen pictures. It's hard to believe they're even real, like something out of a fantasy movie.
It really makes you question reality. Those pillars were formed by erosion over millions of years. They've inspired so many artists and writers with their unique beauty.
From floating mountains to ancient mysteries, Nazca lines in Peru. Those are those giant drawings in the desert, right?
Exactly. Massive geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, depicting all sorts of things, animals, plants, geometric shapes.
I remember learning about those in school. You can only really see them from the air,
That's right.
It's one of those unsolved mysteries that makes you wonder about ancient civilizations. How did they create those drawings? And what was their purpose? I mean, some people even say they were made by aliens.
Well, the alien theory is a bit out there, but yeah, the true purpose of the Nazca lines is still a mystery.
What are some of the theories?
Archaeologists debate whether they were astronomical calendars, religious symbols, messages to the gods. Who knows?
It's like a giant puzzle left behind by an ancient culture. And speaking of mysteries, how can we forget the Bermuda Triangle? Any thoughts on that legendary location?
The Bermuda Triangle, that area in the North Atlantic where ships and planes vanish without a trace.
Creepy.
It's definitely captured the imagination, hasn't it?
Big time. So is there any truth to the stories? Any evidence to support those claims of mysterious disappearances? Or is it all just hype?
Well, the Bermuda Triangle has a reputation for strange events, that's for sure. But most scientists and maritime experts say the disappearances are probably due to more normal things.
Like what?
Human error, bad weather, rogue waves. The ocean can be a pretty dangerous place.
especially in that part of the world.
Mm.
So, more likely bad luck and human mistakes than some supernatural force at work.
That's the most likely explanation, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. But hey, that doesn't make the stories any less fun, does it?
Nope.
It's a good reminder that there are still wild and unpredictable places out there full of mystery. Okay, after all that excitement, let's go somewhere peaceful. The Hitachi Seaside Park in Japan.
Ah, yes. Hitachi Seaside Park. A beautiful escape.
I've seen pictures.
It's known for its flower displays, which change with the seasons.
So pretty.
In spring, you've got fields of baby blue eyes, and then in fall, it becomes this sea of fiery red kokia bushes.
It sounds incredible, like a place where you could just wander for hours, taking it all in.
Yeah.
You know, we've covered so much ground on this deep dive. From the coldest places to the hottest. And it's amazing how life always finds a way, even in the toughest conditions.
Yeah.
What about the McMurdo Dry Valleys in Antarctica? That sounds pretty intense.
Oh, the McMurdo Dry Valleys are definitely one of the most extreme environments on Earth.
What are they like?
Incredibly dry, high winds, freezing temperatures, no snow or ice, just bare rock and gravel.
Sounds like Mars. I wouldn't think anything could survive there.
You'd be surprised. Scientists have found microscopic organisms living in the rocks and soil,
No way.
adapting to that dryness and cold. It shows how resilient life can be.
It's pretty incredible. Makes you wonder what other secrets our planet is hiding.
There's always something new to discover.
This deep dive has been such a journey. From fiery craters to frozen waterfalls, from cat islands to glowing caves, from towering trees to tiny life forms. It's a good reminder that Earth is a planet full of wonder and beauty, wouldn't you say?
I couldn't agree more.
And to our listeners, I hope this has sparked your curiosity, maybe even inspired you to have your own adventures. What's your favorite strange and wonderful place on Earth? Think about that as you go about your day. Who knows, maybe it'll lead you to your next amazing discovery. Thanks for joining us.